Hello everyone, it's great to have so many of you joining us today. Just introduce myself to those new to the webinar series, my name is Victoria. I am the Business Engagement Manager at HS2 and will be hosting and facilitating the Q&A session today. So projects like HS2 are trying to raise the bar on standards such as health and safety. So today's webinar will focus on the importance of health and safety when looking to work within the HS2 supply chain and explaining some of the key values and the key things that we're asking for from businesses in our supply chain. So this will hopefully help you develop and better showcase how you can help us deliver on our health and safety ambitions when bidding for work on the HS2 project. So today I'm joined by expert Carl, who will be talking through all things health and safety. But before I pass over to Carl, I just wanted to run through some general points. So we'll be keeping this webinar to 45 minutes and we appreciate there is lots of information. So a recording, a copy of the presentation and the key links will be shared after the event. And if you do experience any IT troubles, and that includes connection, quality or sound, you can leave and rejoin the event without missing a thing, as it will start where you left us. So we'd encourage you to ask any questions via the panel on the right-hand side of your screen during the session. So I'll be keeping an eye on the questions that come through as we go, and we will answer as many of them as we can at the end of the session. And so I'd encourage you to get your questions in early and also like the questions of other attendees to boost the chances of us getting to your question, and we'll try and cover some of the most popular ones as well. Any questions we don't have time to answer, we'll note down and a questions and answer document will be circulated following the event. I would also encourage those of you who have yet to do so to sign up for the next Work With Us Wednesday webinar, where we'll be focusing on our environmental commitments and how, as a HS2 supplier, you can ensure that you showcase your contribution to achieving these when bidding for work. And finally, your feedback for today's event is really appreciated and will help us improve and develop the information we share and the ways that we do this. So after this session, we will be sending around a short feedback form, which will only take a couple of minutes. So now, without further delay, I will pass over to Carl.
Thank you, Victoria. Cheers, thank you. Good morning, everyone. I hope that you've all been keeping safe and well. I'm Carl Brown, and I'm the Corporate Health and Safety and Environmental Manager here at HS2. I've been with the company for about 2.5 years, and I provide health and safety support to several other departments and functions throughout the company. So this morning, I'd like to talk to you about what lies at the heart of health and safety within HS2. Understanding this will be useful for anyone considering or wanting to work as part of the project. So what follows are a few slides providing some key information, which I'll talk around, and there are some important messages for you to read in the slides, so please stay alert for those. And there's a short but very powerful video right at the very end. But before we go any further, I'd like you to ask yourselves a question. What are your plans for health and safety within your businesses? Can you just take a moment just to have a think about that? Now, I'm sure you may all have different priorities for health and safety, depending on such as the type of work that you may do, and I certainly wouldn't expect everyone to have the same answer. There is no right or wrong way to respond to this question, but that is something that we recognise in HS2. So what I'm going to talk about isn't specific to any sort of trade or activity, and nor is it a factor of what size your company is. It's not just about construction. It covers all of the support functions and facets that a complex and diverse major project like HS2 really needs. But the common theme is that we want everyone involved with HS2 to be part of our health and safety journey and be safe at heart. Because together we'll be leading the delivery of the most extraordinary and ambitious infrastructure project our country has ever seen. A high-speed railway that will be the catalyst for growth and opportunity and connectivity across Britain for generations to come. And it's not just one company doing this. This is a truly collaborative endeavour on an unprecedented scale. And together we have it in our hands to make HS2 the UK's safest ever project. And the challenge is this: how do we channel our collective power as leaders and through our various companies and teams so that we ultimately deliver a history-making legacy? One which has positive impacts on the health and safety standards within industries, on future projects and for the country as a whole. As a health and safety professional, I often hear that health and safety is just common sense and that it's just a matter of following the law. Now, whilst elements of those statements they may be true, let's just add a little perspective. Using current health and safety best practices, our legacy might be, as you can see on the slide there, 3 deaths, more than 700 non-fatal injuries, and more than 5,000 illnesses caused or worsened through working on the project. And that is not a legacy that anyone associated with the project wants. As leaders, we agree it's time for a step change. If we are truly going to put health and safety and well-being at the heart of delivering HS2. So everyone will have a part to play, and everyone, including you within the supply chain, is empowered to contribute. Now, this empowerment comes from the very highest levels within HS2. Earlier in the project, our CEO, Mark Thurston, set out his 3 personal health and safety wellbeing commitments, which you can see on this slide here. You can see that his first commitment defines his individual accountability for putting health and safety and wellbeing of himself and others first. The second is to establish a working environment that empowers people to give their very best. And the third speaks for itself. Mark is committed to making improvements in health and safety and wellbeing, and he's an advocate in that by working well together across the project, we would really drive health and safety performance at a standard much higher than we could ever do individually. We will achieve so much more by being open and collaborating our learning and our experiences. This will really invigorate innovation and improvement for everyone involved now and for the future, as I said. So we're putting Mark's works into action. These 3 personal commitments that he put together have formed the foundation for Safe at Heart. Safe at Heart is our project-wide brand. It's representing everything we aspire to achieve in health and safety and wellbeing throughout the life cycle of HS2. And its purpose is to galvanise all of us behind a common belief, a vision and a set of values and behaviours that will inform the way we communicate, the way we share our experiences, our thoughts and our feelings, and really drive some positive actions. But Safe at Heart is more than just words, it's more than just a brand. At HS2, it's about being safe at heart, bringing it to life and adding value to yours and to other supply chain partners' existing health and safety and wellbeing commitments, and also supporting you in the improvement journey as a whole. So how do we all bring Safe at Heart to life? So to be safe at heart, we have priorities as individuals, as teams and organisations, and then overall as a collective. Firstly, it's each of us recognising that to create a safe at heart environment starts with us saying to ourselves that I care. I care about myself and the examples I set. I care about others. I care about my own work and its impact. Caring about yourself and those who you work with, and to not accept the things as they are, and to have an enthusiasm and a drive to want to do things differently. You Count is about making sure that every decision and action that we take really does count. So it's about connecting with others and showing that your health and safety and well-being counts. Your individual contribution counts. Your team and your organisation's contribution to HS2 counts. And overall, and just as importantly, that you're all made to feel that your contribution counts. And it's all about you showing others that their contribution counts. We Matter is recognising that what we really do really does matter to the future of our industry and to the country. By learning, sharing and innovating together, we have the power to create a history-making legacy for our industry, for the country and for standards of health and safety and wellbeing as a whole. Now, with the government's green light for the project given earlier this year, we've now just embarked on the main works construction. And now this is being done in the most challenging of circumstances due to the situation with coronavirus. But this is exactly the right time to bring everyone along with us on this journey. So we refuse to accept the so-called inevitable, these health and safety impacts that I mentioned just a moment ago. We want our legacy to be history making, and we want to set the benchmarks that other projects then aspire to. But this can only happen if we feel, think and act differently. if we imagine what is possible and commit to the future that we want. Now, I'm just going to pause for a moment. I'll let you read the messages on the slide there. Now, we know that having the right strategies, plans, structures, policies, processes, and health and safety systems, it's all very important, but it's not enough. There is overwhelming evidence that by taking care of people's well-being, improves their performance and reduces the risk of errors. The well-being of everyone involved in the project is fundamental to the safe delivery of all of the work associated with HS2. But it will not stop there. We need to ask ourselves, what more can we do over and above our existing commitments to make Safe at Heart a reality and give us a powerful and collective platform for success? We are a world-class partnership made up of organisations that already put safe and healthy and well-being first, and you have an opportunity to be part of that and contribute towards it. So what are you doing that can contribute towards that goal? Are you content with your health and safety performance at the moment? Or are there things that you've committed to or doing right now that are already making that difference? By adding your personal and joint commitment to our Safe at Heart vision, you will help us empower, inspire, and engage all of our teams to make our envisaged future a reality. So we regard all of our workforce, of which you could be a part, as part of our extended family. Our bottom line is that we want everyone to get to work safely, come home safely, and feel good about the work that they've done on that day. So making our vision and commitment a reality requires consistency and sincerity, not just in our words, but also in our actions and our behaviours. At HS2, we will be visible in our endorsement of all three of these. The Safe at Heart commitment is something that we are united behind. And we will make our commitment relevant and simple to understand for everyone working on HS2, whatever job they do. I care, you count, we matter, and everyone has a part to play in that. So, I'll give you a few examples there. What does Safe at Heart look like in action? You don't have to look very far on the project to see countless examples of I care, you count, and we matter right across the project. And often they're a combination of all three. So, for example, we've committed to treat health like safety and drive improvements in the way in which well-being in the workplace is considered. We know that 1 in 4 people will have a mental health issue at some point statistically, and that a large proportion of our workforce will be in high-risk categories for poor mental health due to risk factors such as their age, working long periods away from home, for example, and also the mental demands of the work that's going to be involved. So we're already establishing working groups to pull together information and put together information for everyone and be creative and come up with solutions to identify new standards in mental health support within construction and other areas. We're working closely with our chosen charity, Rethink Mental Illness, to raise funds for their support lines and other services. So we're already positively impacting on people's well-being and begin to leave that legacy behind us. Now, due to recent events with the global pandemic, there's obviously been a huge focus on health and safety and well-being. And I'm sure that you've all had to think and act differently to make your businesses COVID secure and think about things such as new arrangements for social distancing and providing information and support for the health and well-being of your employees. Our occupational health team has done an amazing job in providing a wide variety of resources and things like webinars to help us look after our physical, mental, social and financial well-being. All of these have come under a lot of pressure over the last few months, and I'm sure that's been pretty much the same for your staff as well. And all of our JV partners have shown some fantastic commitment to getting the operational workforce back to work safely, with social distancing measures in place, deep cleans, on arrival temperature checks, completely new working practices. Many teams right across HS2 have put enormous effort into keeping us connected, helping us work safely and gradually getting some of us safely back into our workplaces and showing us that they care, keeping us all going counts, and together we all matter. Now, the other message to take away from all of this is that this has been done with a tremendous amount of collaboration, which is something that we really support and encourage. Our JV partners have been open and willing to share all their ideas, their innovation and good practice in health and safety and well-being, and again demonstrating that what we do together matters. So then, as potential suppliers, what other information is available for you out there? Now, HS2 has developed a supply chain approach, which includes a supplier's guide. The guide has been developed to help suppliers find more about HS2 as a project, and it also highlights what is important to us and what will be required of our supply chain. Now, this is publicly available, excuse me, on the government's website. So if you search on any internet search provider or search engine, simply for HS2 Suppliers Guide, it should be the first result that comes up. Alternatively, there is a link on this slide, and I understand these materials will be shared with you at the end of this webinar, so you can refer back to that. Now, the guide includes an overview of how HS2 assesses their suppliers. Now, as you can see on the slide there, health and safety is a standard item for all suppliers, and this is replicated within the supply chain partners' processes. Health and safety assessments is normally risk-based, so you may have specific questions or criteria depending on factors such as what type of work that you may do or what service that you provide. Now, also within the supplier's guide, you'll find details of 7 key areas associated with health and safety and wellbeing that HS2 is focusing on. These are on the slide here that you can see there. Now, as you can see, these are workforce safety, public and neighbour health and safety, workforce occupational health and safety and wellbeing, safety by design, safe procurement, safe operations and smart assurance. Now, we've identified that these pose the greatest risks with regards to health and safety. They're also the areas in which we believe by working collaboratively, we can make the most difference. So think about your own companies. Do you believe that your company or business can contribute towards improvements in these areas? Understanding these key focus areas will be useful for anyone who wants to work on HS2, so they're worth reading and getting your head around. Now, in addition to the supplier's guide, there's also a dedicated health and safety approach. That's another document which is also publicly available, and it's kept in the same location as the supplier's guide on the government's website. Now, this provides a lot more detail, and I would strongly recommend that anyone applying for work on HS2 reads all of this. The document provides clarity to all of our suppliers on our expectations and requirements for the management of health and safety and wellbeing here at HS2. It also sets the tone for our health and safety and wellbeing culture through Safe at Heart. And there are more details about the focus areas that I just mentioned, and lots more information about all of our commitments and our overall approach to safety leadership. The other thing that it also provides is some online access to good practice guidance, which again supports our aim to set new standards for health and safety and wellbeing for this and for future projects. So, a little bit of reflection. At HS2, you can see that we have a strategic and moral journey that we want to take with regards to health and safety. And if we go right back to my original question at the start of the presentation, what are your plans for improving safety within your businesses? How can you contribute towards our journey, and what can we assist you with on yours? We want businesses who are willing and enthusiastic to be open, to work together and have a positive health and safety impact on the people that work with us. This is the foundation for our Safe at Heart culture.
It doesn't matter where you work within the organisation in the delivery of HS2, whether you're working in the offices or on site. You have a voice for health and safety, and it counts.
It's definitely a culture of mutual respect. It's about ensuring that we've got fair employment and business practices and inclusive environments where we actually embrace and celebrate difference.
We're massively encouraged at the moment and empowered to make decisions that don't just control risks, but actually eliminate risk at source.
What are your ideas? What can you feed back? Try and help us improve things around here. And I think that's a great culture to be part of.
Through working together, working collaboratively, communicating, understanding the picture and all looking for the same goal, a lot can be achieved.
You count.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Carl. That was a really really useful information in there, and we'll be sharing the slides and the recording of the presentation with you, and that will include the video as well if some of you found that didn't play that clearly. So I would really encourage you to all look through the health and safety guides mentioned and our approach, make sure you're familiar with those areas of focus, and importantly think about how you can demonstrate how you are delivering and raising that bar as a business through examples and case studies when you're looking to bid for HS2. So we've had a few questions through, and again you can continue to submit those through the panel on the right hand side. So the first couple I was just going to cover was around the specific questions on how as a business you can get involved and share what your offer is. So the first thing I would advise you to do is to make sure you tell us about your business and what you can offer, and that would be through registering your interest, which you can see the link on the top of this slide at the moment, so the /local-business, and that will take you to a registration link where we share your information and your offer directly with the contractors and those who are looking and buying and look at the things that they're looking for. The other thing is to make sure that you're registered on Compete For. One of our earlier webinars looked at Compete For, so if you're unsure how to register, there's lots of information already online around that as well. And I think the key is to make sure that understand who the contractors are that are working in your area, so that you can get in touch with their contractors and their subcontractors about some of the supplies and services that you offer. So I think on that kind of point, Carl, it would be useful to get your view on, for businesses who have maybe a technology, a product or a particular service that looks specifically at raising health and safety standards. So I know we had one around a specific trailer that can help reduce vehicle movements on site, which obviously has health and safety benefits. What your advice would be to those businesses in terms of showcasing that to HS2 and also our contractors and supply chain?
Well, I think there's opportunity there to get in, as you said, get in touch with the contractors that are working in and around that area, the big JV partners that are out there. I know that there quite a few of these do sorts of various seminars and showcases, and they speak to a lot of the various plant operators and plant hire companies that are around there. Obviously, the use of plant and equipment is going to be quite huge on the project, so it might be worth actually going to and speaking to the JV partners and understanding which plant suppliers that they use there and putting forward their ideas.
Brilliant, thanks. And yeah, for any specific questions, what we'll do, we'll try and get some more detail over to you as a business, so with any kind of links and contacts that we can. So as a company, some of them are already members of Safe Contractor, Shaz, and have ISO 45001 like certification, is that required? And is there anything extra that they need to do to demonstrate that they take health and safety seriously?
So as part of the overall sort of tendering process, HS2 tries to avoid any sort of duplication with things such as CHAS and 45001 and lots of the other safety schemes in procurement approaches that are generally used and recognised within the industry. So we're not looking to duplicate anything along those sorts of lines. So in the majority of cases, it simply will be if you've got evidence that you are a member of CHAS or safety schemes in procurement equivalents, we'll just ask for your registration details. Now, over and above that, it might depend on the work that you're that's being undertaken. So, as I said, a lot of the assessment processes are risk-based. So you may be asked technical questions about the work that's actually being undertaken and how you perform that safely, and giving examples where you've already adopted safe working practices. But again, as I said, that will all be risk-based depending on the work that's actually doing. We won't nothing's tailored generically. It will be looking at the actual activities that are being done out on site.
And do we have a minimum standard or expectation? So some of those standards are they needed for all contracts, or again, is that based on the type and the risk associated with the work that a company's doing?
No, there's no exclusion parameters. It's all about, as I said, risk management and looking at what work's actually being undertaken. So, say for example, someone is just providing traffic monitoring services. We wouldn't expect them to have any sort of construction skills requirements that precludes them. So the tendering process would be geared around the activities that have been undertaken and looking at the safe systems of work associated with the services.
Brilliant. Okay, I think that's helpful. And so I think something quite relevant to the times at the moment is in relation to coronavirus. Is there anything extra that we're asking from suppliers, or anything that we're adding on that they need to be able to do in order to work on the project and to do so safely?
That's a really good and pertinent question at the moment. And the short answer is no. I wouldn't expect us to put anything like that in as part of a sort of supply chain bid or tender approach, purely because the guidance is changing on a regular basis from the government. So you probably really need to be considering those sorts of things a bit closer to contract award and actually starting out on site to make sure that risk assessments and method statements of ways safe methods of working are fully up to date and aligned with the very, very latest guidance and approaches.
Brilliant, thank you. And so around the standards and setting these high standards, what mechanism does HS2 have in place to monitor that we are reaching these standards, ensuring that health and safety practices are being followed, and realise when we're delivering at all the levels of the supply chain?
So we've set in place a number of safety performance indicators and measuring tools, looking at the number of incidents that are being reported, not only accidents, but also things like near misses, which are really, really important because they sort of judge accidents that are about to happen, shall we say, or the potential for further accidents. So we really encourage people to report things like near misses, and all that's being monitored as part of our health and safety performance indicators. And then over and above those sort of general health and safety performance related measures, we also gather information from site on case studies, on innovation, and all of that is fed back into the supply chain as part of things such as our safety, health, wellbeing leadership teams meetings, and that's shared then across HS2 as a whole, so people can pick up on the innovation in areas and share that across the whole project as best practice and drive those improvements forward.
Brilliant. I think that point around sort of that sharing lessons and bringing innovation is really important. So have you got any examples of where businesses who have got involved in HS2 supply chain have brought those innovations, those new ways of working that have helped us to raise the standards that we're looking for, to give, I suppose, businesses listening in some of the ideas of what we've seen so far from our suppliers?
That's a great question. I don't have an awful lot of information to hand, but just thinking, as I said earlier, with regards to the situation with the pandemic, all the JV partners have had to come up with new ways of working very, very quickly to adapt to the situations that have been literally thrown at us. So they've all had to completely look at the ways that they've worked, they've conducted, excuse me, the way they've been conducting meetings and inductions, for example, to take into account social distancing. So you wouldn't put 40 or 50 people in a site cabin now to do an induction. That'd have to be staggered. Bringing the social distancing measures. In some places they've been doing those outdoors, which is even better. But there are lots more examples that we can showcase, which unfortunately I don't have to hand at the moment, but quite happily to share anything about a specific topic or area that someone might be thinking about afterwards, so we can get their details.
Yeah, brilliant. I think the important thing is to think about what you as a business have been, what you've been doing generally in the space of health and safety, and think about some of the ways that you've set new standards and new ways of doing things based on maybe an experience and lessons learned, and showcasing that as part of your bid process, because that will really help demonstrate that you're not just you don't just have a health and safety policy that's in a drawer somewhere. You are delivering on your commitments, and you're also looking proactively to continue to grow those. So I think on that point around bidding for work and making sure that businesses are showcasing to their best ability that the requirements that we're setting around health and safety, as I know that there'll be different criteria based on the type of contract. What would you say would be your kind of top tips for a business when they're kind of looking at that section of health and safety? What would you advise them to go and do, whether that's looking and understanding particular approaches, language, or approach in terms of sharing case studies?
So the first thing I would do with any sort of ITT is fully understand the question. So have a good look at what question is actually asking you for, to find out exactly how your response needs to be tailored, which sounds a little bit like granny teaching us to suck eggs, that sort of thing. But it is quite important to understand that the question and get that tailored correctly. And I would look at how the questions are linked into the suppliers guide, as we mentioned a moment ago, with regards to our 7 key focus areas, and also the guidance that's included in the suppliers guide around specific areas. I think what the overall, really, what you need to be doing is demonstrating that any risks that you've got associated with the work are clearly being managed by your company and your teams, and you've got a really strong health and safety culture that can demonstrate that people are raising concerns and you're addressing those concerns, and ultimately making sure that the health and well-being of everyone out on site is being catered for.
Brilliant, thank you. And I think that's a good for some of the smaller businesses who might be listening in as well, where they might not have such extensive policies or processes in place. And we are partnered with the Supply Chain Sustainability School, which is free to use. We did a webinar a couple of weeks ago on that, and on that site you can find information around health and safety, getting policies and processes in place that will help your business kind of stand out within that bidding process. So we haven't had any further questions through, so I think on that note we will kind of finish up. I think if anybody's got any further questions, do submit them through, and we can follow up with the information with the recording as well. And again, I just encourage you to sign up for the next one, which is on environmental commitments, and also familiarise yourself with the health and safety guide, the HS2 supplier guide, and importantly, register your interest with us if you haven't done so already, to make sure we know about your business, we know about what it can offer, and if it is something that helps showcase health and safety, make sure that you put that points in there, you get that across so that we can share that with the contractors. So thank you very much for your time. We'll give you a few minutes of your day back, and we'll now close the session.